especially in the NGO sector, I think from a very north to south approach, where we believed that we had a lot of things to learn to countries worldwide that are less developed as we are. But the more I'm working in this world, the more I realize it's a bit the opposite. And we also have a lot to learn from countries worldwide that may appear less developed, but that they can have developed a lot of nice practices. They're often much more used to collaborate between actors. You sometimes feel less individualism in these countries. And so for me, that's important also to show some kind of humility and to say wow, there are so many learnings and Belgian society is still so much behind.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Antoine.
Hello.
You are the CEO of Handicap International. Could you please explain me a little bit, and also for the listeners, what is Handicap International and what is your role there?
Yes, Handicap International is an international NGO, a humanitarian NGO existing since a bit more than 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and our vision is to really evolve to a society where persons with disabilities are fully included. That's really the aim. And through the years, we have different types of projects that evolved. The organization started initially in the refugee camps in Asia to provide prosthetic legs to amputees after having walked on a landmine. So it was very precise. And over the years, we developed in a wide range of activities, but still with the assistance really central in the project, the prosthetic legs, but also mental support, mental health, and other types of medical assistance. But besides the medical assistance, we have a lot of prevention projects to try to prevent more persons with disabilities in this world. This can have to do with road safety, but also the use of explosive weapons in conflict areas. We are really fighting against that. So there is the prevention aspect, the assistance aspect, and then the inclusion aspect.
And that's all around the world, or do you have certain regions where you focus on?
We are currently in 50 countries, so it's really like a multinational, I could say. But I'm the CEO of the Belgian branch. So there is a global CEO as well. And in Belgium, we are doing different things. The first thing that we do a lot is a lot of communication about what we do, how we do it, what is happening worldwide. And there is a lot of attention also about the financing aspects of the projects, whether it's private fundraising or institutional financing with governments.
Do you have both, or what is the financial model behind Handicap International?
We have both.
You have both?
Yes, we have both.
So part comes from governments who invest in the NGO and part is donations?
Indeed. Okay. Yes, so it's a mix. We are doing a lot of lobbying that we call advocacy here as well, whether it's about the rights of persons with disability in society, but also about, as I mentioned, the use of explosive weapons in conflict areas, and where Belgium is doing a very great job since many years. And then we also started since last year to really think what our added value could be in Belgium. Because usually we were used to have a lot of projects outside of Europe, the old way of thinking a bit about this world, north-south, but our world is becoming so much globalized. It's a big village and there are connections to make. And so we see a lot of potential in Belgium also to bring somehow our learnings from projects all over the world in the Belgian society.
Could you give a concrete example?
Yeah, I will give two examples. The first one is that we are developing a package for teachers to allow teachers in the secondary school to treat the topic of disability inclusion in the classroom.
Okay.
Because
That's
a lot
nice.
has to do with how inclusion is not only about a person with a disability having access to a job or to school. It mainly has to do with how people are looking at these people. And so it's really a societal change that needs to happen. And we have quite a lot of experience of working with teachers in classrooms all around the world, in Asia, in Africa, in South America. But this does not happen in Belgium. This does not exist. And so we thought like, okay, there's probably something we can do there. And so we are working on a platform with a lot of tools that teachers can use in the classroom. And we are focusing on the age of 15 to 18 to ensure also that to bring that topic in the class. That's
But that
one
should
example.
be expensive. Isn't that expensive to make such a toolbox and such a platform?
It's a bit expensive, but as an international NGO, we applied for European funding, Erasmus Plus funding. And that's possible because to apply for European funding, you need to have presence in different European countries. And so it's a project, it's a multi-country project. Another project very different that we are just starting now in Belgium is that we're setting up a logistic chain to recuperate all used prosthetic legs in Belgium. There are more or less 2,500 prosthetic limbs that are replaced every year in Belgium.
Okay.
And what happens today is that either a person would keep an old prosthetic in their house, at their place, or they will end up in
trash.
In trash, yes.
So it's not something that you leave behind at the hospital.
You can leave it behind at the hospital, but then afterwards it ends up in trash.
Yeah.
And so, but there is a lot of value there. You sometimes can have a knee that is worth a couple of thousands of euros.
Okay.
And so there is a lot of value in trying to collect all these pieces, disassemble them, make them really new again, and use these components on some of our projects. Unfortunately, today, these pieces cannot be reused in Europe because insurances are only paying for new ones.
Okay.
But we have a lot of places in the world where they can be reused. And if you think of a prosthetic leg, you have different parts. Of course, you have a part that is very specific to the person, but then you have a knee that is quite standard. You have what we call a pylon, a foot. And so all these pieces can really be reused. And
so it's like a recycling project?
Yes, of a circular economy.
Circular economy.
And that's nice because this brings us more also in Belgian Anchorage. And we are making a lot of new connections here with professionals. And what I really love is this kind of shift that is going on from, especially in the NGO sector, I think, from a very north to south approach, where we believed that we had a lot of things to learn to countries worldwide that are less developed as we are. But the more I'm working in this world, the more I realize it's a bit the opposite. And we also have a lot to learn from countries worldwide that may appear less developed, but that they can have developed a lot of nice practices. They're often much more used to collaborate between actors. You sometimes feel less individualism in these countries. And so for me, that's important also to show some kind of humility and to say like, wow, there are so many learnings and Belgian society is still so much behind, especially on the thematic of disability inclusion that we are treating.
Oh, really? Wow, that's interesting. But I can also imagine, I'm not at all familiar with the industry you are in, but I can imagine that if you think, for instance, of African countries, that they are very creative in finding solutions as well, because they have less and they do a lot with less. We are so used to the abundance of materials and solutions and doctors and hospitals that I guess I don't know, maybe being lazy is too strong, but maybe we got a bit too much comfort And so, but I can imagine that it's a real shift in thinking.
It's a shift in thinking, and if you mention African countries, for instance, they will have, the sense of community is much more developed than here. You know, here one of the first things we usually do when someone has a problem is a problem between big brackets, but is to bring the person in a very specialized place, etc. You know, while the family support and the support of a community can really make a massive difference in inclusion of persons that are, a bit different, but with many.
That's true. We kind of lost that community feeling, I think, over the years, because I think when I'm thinking back of the past, I think we had all kinds of generations and all kinds of people more integrated with each other, and I think we got more and more individual as persons, but also individual as families. We kind of lost the contact with grandparents. We kind of lost the contact with ill people, ill mentally, ill physically, handicapped. And it's true that we kind of build solutions for everyone, which is in a way great because there is a solution and these people are being taken care of. But we kind of lost the connection.
I think so, yes. And I think I hope we can shift it backwards. And I'm a very happy father of 2 young kids. But I also realized how difficult it can be for a mother, you know, just after giving birth and after having received all these nice cards, etc., to be all of a sudden quite alone home. And when I compare that to some other places in the world, you know, a mother sometimes that is giving birth, the next year or so receives so much support from the community, from a lot of other people that it's, you hear stories where it's the best moment in her life for a woman to, you know, after giving birth. And so, I hope as society we can go back to this way of living together, to really learn from each other. And
what is necessary, do you think, to get back to that kind of, at least, I think, awareness that there's many good in building there's this very famous phrase that says it takes a village to raise a kid, but we don't have those villages anymore. So what do you think is necessary to get back to that lifestyle?
I would say, I think sharing positive stories of the impact it can have to be more connected and what it can bring to each other. And then for sure, I would say that probably a starting point somehow is also to learn to slow down in a world that is going so fast. It's so easy today, I think, to always be busy. And what I'm often asking myself as a question is, am I busy with the right things? Am I really busy with the right things? You know, because it's easy to wake up, to get your phone, to go on social media, to read something that you may not have planned to read, and to start your day and to finish your day without slowing down. And this week for me was a special week because I lost a grandmother. I had the funerals of a grandmother, but she was 91 and she spent the 2 last months at my parents' place. So that was really nice, really, really nice, because she was ill. And so we worked it out, and my parents had this fantastic idea and were
of taking her
home.
And before she lived on her own, or
yes, in a kind of service place. And so we had a lot of exchanges, and I always find it fascinating to speak and take the time to talk to these elderly people. Say like, okay, when you come back on your life, what were kind of the highlights? You know, what was the most amazing things? And on the other side, what were maybe some big regrets you have? And and this for me is an interesting way to really try to say like, okay, what does really matter most, and how can I free up time to ensure that I'm spending sufficient time on what really matters most. And sometimes when I'm working late or so, I'm trying to remember that, you know.
But is it because I think I saw a video that you did a coaching course, I suppose, with Stan,
Yes.
Stan, who I also love, about how to become more a human being instead of a human doing.
Correct.
So you had some training in that. How natural is it already for you to be more aware of being a human being and not always in the rat race of doing things?
For me, it's not that natural. So I'm really working on it, and I feel I'm on the start of a journey. But that journey brings so much joy and happiness to me that this also gives me a lot of energy to continue to go in that direction. Because I have been quite used to be quite competitive as a child, and then I wanted to go for the most difficult studies, to get the best jobs, the best career, etc. And so that's interesting. And then I got the opportunity to get a job of CEO at 34, so that was quite young. But at the end of the day, I kind of realized that I was really doing things the one after the other, more to check boxes, and with a lot of pressure I put on myself, but that this was not bringing me that much joy or happiness.
Was it also something that you think, looking back, that you did for others? Maybe for your parents or for society or towards your friends? Or was it really a drive inside of you that I want to do this?
Initially, it was more a drive inside of me. And this is really changing now. Since a couple of years, where I really come to this realization that, it makes me much more happy also to show more empathy, to help others, to spend really quality time on what matters most, and to be more in the being and in the real presence, rather than trying just to always go faster, be more efficient, do more, shine more, etc. So it's a transition.
It's a transition. I fully get it. And I personally struggle a lot with it as well, because we are so educated to do. And we are so educated to grow, and growth is very often linked to economical growth, to societal growth, to titles and achievements. And that's where the whole society seems to be busy with. So to go against the tides. And for instance, when I started my own consultancy back in 2011, already then I said, I don't want to grow in revenue. If I have every year more or less the revenue, of course there's indexations and whatever, and values, devaluation of money. But if I kind of earn this kind of revenue each year, that I know that can cover my costs and that I have a little bit of a benefit, for me that's enough. I don't need to grow each year with 10%, 20%. I don't need that. What I need is personal development, is personal growth. Antoine, when I told people that back in 2011, everybody looked at me like I was crazy. They went, it's never going to happen, Isabel. Your independency and your own strategic agency, it will never work. You have to be ambitious, you have to grow, you have to want things. And I kind of always felt that wasn't my path, but I also felt the pressure to do it. So it's always been a balancing exercise. How I found solutions for myself, but how are you practically doing that? Could you give some insights in how do you find that balance?
No, and I understand. I really understand what you say, and I always find it interesting to really start from the needs. So, okay, what are my needs and before willing to grow or to buy something new, to really ask myself, do I really need that? Do I need a higher salary? Maybe not, if you have enough, if you have what you need, I think that can be sufficient. What helps me a lot is writing. So I'm writing. I have started writing 2 years ago, putting a lot of reflections every day on paper.
Like journaling.
Yes, journaling, and really trying to see okay, and trying to make links then between one day and the other, and what are the things a bit coming out of all of that. And trying to make a shift to say, okay, what is really important for me as a person? And trying to not do things only to please others, It was very much, I was used to always think of, okay, what will the other person think of that? What if I do that? What will be the reaction of the other, etc.? And so I was putting a lot of attention on how others would look at me. While now I really came to this realization, like, okay, but this does not really matter, or that's not the most important. The most important is to feel aligned and to try to also understand who I really am, what is my real authenticity. And so creating space, and that for me is important. And in my daily life, I really try to create space for reflection. And so writing helps me. Running in the forest really helps me as well. I'm used to run in the forest 2-3 times a week, I try. And always with a small paper and a pencil.
Oh, really?
And then I'm stopping, I'm making a break, because when I'm running, and I read some articles about that, this generates connections between left and right side of the brain. Then I have ideas coming up, and so I stop on 3 and I note them. And then I have a book to collect all these ideas.
Wow, that's
but
nice.
Often this really helps me to come back to what I think is really important to me. And so I need to always to pay a lot of attention, to not put too much energy in things that I think are not really in line with the person I really want to be. And what's an exercise I like to do, and it's an exercise that was introduced to me by Jim Lippens as part of the Harada method, is to start also by reflecting on a couple of people that highly inspire you. And then try to see, okay, what aspects of these people really inspire you? And when I did that exercise, I really saw a lot of aspects coming back. And for me, for instance, it was a connection with nature. It was an important one. Ability also to disconnect and to not be always digitally connected. And people that have been writing books about leadership, about lots of thoughts, etc. And so, I think time for reflection is really key. But this asks then also to not fall into easy traps of spending a lot of time on less important things.
But you have an important function. You have a big team to lead. That time for self-reflection, is it something that you block in your agenda at specific moments, and like early mornings or evenings or afternoons or weekends? Do you have like a regular schedule for that, or how do you do it?
More or less regular. Every evening I write a bit down, and then I'm quite lucky because my wife really also has the same needs. And so we understand each other. And so we allow each other to have some spaces also, sometimes during the weekends or holidays, for self-reflection. What helps me with my team is that I feel like one of the most important aspects for me is the trust I can have in people. That's essential. And so when you trust the people you're working with, this frees up so much time. and this is really a reflection I had. Is like when you start to trust more, you don't need to be behind every detail. You don't need to check everything, to micromanage, etc. And so this frees up time for other things.
But how did you start to trust them? Because it's an important part of the care model. The R of reliability is actually trust. And for me, it starts with empathy. But I'm curious to understand, how do you trust people as a CEO? Because you,
I think I would think of two elements. The first one is that I grew up in a family of 5 kids, and my parents really, I'm the second person, and my parents trusted me a lot. And I've always felt a lot of trust. So I had a lot of freedom. I was not asked what type of activity I would do with friends or so. I was really, and so when someone gives you that trust, I kind of gave it back automatically, I think. So that's an important aspect.
I think it's a very important one. And I think, well, tell me if I'm wrong for you, but what mostly comes out of that, if as a child you receive trust from your parents, you grow self-confidence.
Exactly.
And when you have self-confidence, it's easier to give trust to others because...
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
I fully agree.
Yeah.
And the second thing I would say is in my working environment, I'm always thinking back to the person that initially applied for the job. You know, so every person initially applied for the job at a point in time. And I mean, you see a person applying, the person comes with a high level of motivation, wants to have the job, etc. So for me, when someone starts, the level of trust is at 100%, like the intention of the person is good. The person wants to work, etc. And so, and people are happy to work and people want to work well. I think that's important. Sometimes I see reactions of people micromanaging, etc., or always thinking, yes, but if we don't control this and this, the person could do that and that. But
exactly.
Why would the person initially do it?
But there's a lot of people thinking like that. You can't trust them because they will never fully do what they say. And there's a lot of distrust in organizations.
Yes, I'm not sure where it comes from. It's a very interesting question.
Yes.
But what I see is the impact of trusting people. Because when you trust people, and trusting people for me does also mean allowing people to make mistakes. Because I personally was so grateful for the people that allowed me to make mistakes, because that's where I learned the most. So and one of the former director of Handicap International told me something I always keep with me was, like, don't take away the learning opportunity of a person.
Nice one, yeah.
And that's a concrete example would be, you know, we have a project to deliver, we don't have a lot of time, I have someone more junior in the team. I know I could do it, I could probably do it faster and slightly better, probably. And then I may have the tendency to say, yeah, you know, I will take it. Don't take care of that, I'm taking it. And it's important, we need to go fast. But by doing that, first of all, this puts a lot of workload on my shoulders and time that I will not be able to spend on something else. But the second thing I think is that it doesn't really not allow the person to learn. And the message you give to the person as well is, for me, very damaging. Where you say, you know, I hired you on something, but here I don't trust you, you can work on that. And so for me, trust is something to be worked on a daily basis. It takes a lot of time. It's really worth it. It takes a lot of time also to build in both directions. But what I experienced is that it can also go back to zero. If as a leader you do something that is not appropriate or whatever.
Did that happen to you?
Yes, unfortunately, I would say. I don't know if I need to say unfortunately or fortunately, because I learned so much from that. But I had a very, very, very difficult case to manage, where in the end I haven't found at the time the courage to be more transparent with the team. And at the point it was too late. And I had to take a very difficult decision for the team and to reduce the size of the team. And that came as a massive surprise to everybody. They said, what, Antoine, what's happening here? It all comes as a surprise, etc. And so on that day, I really felt like I had created a kind of gap in trust. And that was a bit more than a year ago. I think now, a year later, we're back towards a nice working environment again, but it really affected me a lot. And so I reflected so much on that. And people,
And what was the
feel that.
reason back at the time that you decided not to share your whole thinking process? Why? So somebody had to be made redundant. You had to fire somebody, if I understand well. I guess there was financial reasons behind that. Why did you, back at the time, decide not to share those worries with your team?
I was really hoping and thinking this would not have to happen. But I'm part of a bigger system. It's a big organization, and the pressure had been very, very, very high from the top. And somehow I didn't maybe have the courage to completely
Be transparent.
be transparent, and also towards the top to more follow my intuition, you know. And there I felt I was still a bit of probably a young leader, working mainly with people that were 15, 20 years older, put a lot of pressure on my shoulders. And I couldn't really handle that well. And so I hadn't been that transparent, but transparency for me is so important as well. Difficult to keep a culture of trust and empathy, etc., if you're hiding certain elements. It doesn't mean you need to tell everything, but for sure not hiding things that are important and that were completely outside of my control. So that for me is important as well, is even if you have more difficult news to share, to really share them with the team.
I hear a couple of things in this example which are, for me, very interesting, because the first thing I would like to jump in on is, I work with CEOs and I help them grow through the transitions they go through on a personal level and on a company level. And one of the things that always strikes me with whatever CEO I work with in whatever type of environment is that employees have no idea how much pressure a CEO has. There's a kind of idea that the boss, of course he has skills why he's the boss, but a lot of people think it's a kind of there's a lot of freedom in that position because you are the boss, you can decide a lot of things, and people are never aware of the level of pressure. And that pressure, I don't know one CEO who doesn't have somebody on top of him. It's a board of directors, it's family owners, it's an international team of CEOs or hierarchy. In some way, there's always a kind of hierarchy on top, but people don't know that, and it's.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's of course it's because it's one of the things that no CEO talks about, and it always strikes me. And then I always say, but how should people know that? You're telling me, but how do you think your employees? They have no idea. They think you're the man, you're the boss. You know, you're in control.
And you know everything. That's sometimes
You know
which
everything.
is not true.
Exactly. So how does that resonate when I tell this to you?
It's really interesting. I never thought about it that way. But it's true. It's true. There is a lot of pressure because there are so many stakeholders, so many people with different types of attitude, powers, whatever, and that have very different opinions. And so it's a lot of pressure, and it's a lot of mental pressure as well. You know, sometimes I tell to my wife, look on paper, look, I'm not working so many hours. I think my balance is okay. And she tells me, I'm not sure. It's not about the hours. It's about the amount of time you spend with all these things in your head. And that's true. And maybe there is something to do with that, about being more open and transparent and communicating that more. because this is also, in a way, I think, acknowledging our vulnerability,
Sure.
Which is key, I think. But also to be able to say, okay, I'm in that position. I'm very happy, and I feel energized by being in that position. But it's not easy, and it also comes with a lot of doubts and pressures and mistakes, etc. And to make that transparent to people rather than...
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of the solution, to be a little bit more transparent about that. And the second thing I wanted to add to that is that it's a very lonely job. Because I also love transparency. It's one of my 20 steps, but you can't be fully transparent. You can try and be as radical transparent as you can, but you cannot always say everything to everyone. Sometimes over time, yes, but in the beginning, sometimes you have to be a gatekeeper of certain information.
Agreed.
But still, coming back to your example of a year ago, when you have to make people redundant, taking them a little bit already on the journey of the pressure,
Yes.
financials that have to be right, and so that the blow when you announce that somebody has to go isn't that big. And that again is a balancing exercise that is not so easy.
Yeah, and maybe to continue on that thinking, maybe it is a way of being transparent to explain people that you can't explain everything.
Yeah.
That can also be understood probably as being okay.
Yeah.
I think people can understand that.
Yeah.
Say like,
I
okay,
think so.
we have very different roles. We cannot, all be in every detail of everything. And I always love to say, I'm not more important than anyone in this team. And I really believe that. Also, when we have interns or volunteers, etc., I love to say, like, we're just all part of a system or a chain with different roles and responsibilities, different competences, but every part of the chain is important. And probably in the role of a CEO, you have you need certain competences, like in any other job. And being transparent is for sure one of them, but there is also, for me, an element of protecting the team, caring for the people.
Totally.
And being able to judge what's important to share, what's not important, and what's probably not good to share at that point in time.
Yeah, exactly. Timing is important.
Or sharing some information might have some other effects that you prefer to avoid because this won't change everything.
Yeah, totally. I think the timing element is very important, which is a difficult one again, because when is the right timing to release that piece of information? Is it too soon? Is it not soon enough? But in general, what I see in organizations, when a CEO has that ability to show that vulnerability, to say, first, I don't know. There's things happening above my head, and I don't know what direction we are going to. It takes a lot of courage to be able to say that, because we are trained in the past to think that a CEO has to know everything. That's the image we created of CEOs, like they're uber humans.
Yeah.
And it's an illusion. Of course, it's an illusion. But then the second thing that I always see is that when they do manage to do that, it creates so much empathy from the team for the boss, and vice versa. And that is such a strong foundation to trust each other. Because then they understand that, like you were saying, something is going on up there. We don't know exactly what, but we understand that Antoine is under a lot of pressure. And for sure, he will tell us when the moment is right, what is happening, or what is the consequences for us, or whatever. And that the fact that they are part of that, that stream of decisions that are happening, that's what makes that connection between the team and that trust. But well, for me it's easy to say, but doing that every day is not always so easy.
No, but it's something important to prioritize, I think. And And I really realize I'm getting energized by talking to people. And so I spend a lot of time. I hate home working. I need to be in the office or external, but I need a decent portion of my time in the office. And then you can have communications in a group, but then I realize how important it also is to really spend some time with every person individually. First to understand who the person is. And also in these discussions, I often learn a lot of things that are not really going well. People know much better than
Of course,
the CEO
yeah.
what's going well and what's not working well. And then also learning from people what excites them, what gives them energy. And that's one of the things I then prefer, is to say like, okay, you see a lot of potential or willingness for a person in that kind of project. So maybe we can think of a project to match with that person. And so, yeah, that's for me one way also to really have much more impact of a team, is to not be stuck too much in a role description or so. Of course, everyone applies for a job initially, but at a point in time, when you start to get the person better, I think, or you can shape the job a bit differently so that it better matches the person's strength, or maybe think of evolutions for the person.
And is that then something that you officialize by really rewriting the job description?
Yes,
or not?
sometimes, yes, as soon, because I think it's important, and also in terms of recognition, and if it's more responsibilities, it has to be accompanied with a salary increase or something like this. So then we work usually with an appendix to the contract, or so to say, we add this kind of mission to your contract.
How big is your team?
In Brussels, we are 80 people.
80? 80? Wow.
But split on 2 legal entities, an operational center where I have a role, but it's the mixed role between the global HQ that is in France and me as a Belgian director here, because these are really operational specialists and technical specialists that also report to the global unit, let's say. And then we are about 20 people for the Belgian team, plus a network of 50 volunteers that are amazing people.
Yeah, I can
as
imagine.
well.
Yeah. Yeah, great. And you have worked previously to working in an NGO. You worked in the private sector. You've been to business school, so you were trained in the let's say traditional business way. What are the biggest leadership lessons that you learned back then that you still apply today?
One I would say is the importance of data, because that's really important. I love all the soft aspects of leadership, but at a point in time, if you don't get some important data points to show that what you're doing is working, then you need data to influence and to create also the trust with other being board members or a global team of CEOs that you mentioned, etc. So that for me is really important, is to feel you have a very good view on the key data points, being financially, but not only, it can also be about the level of percentage of people that went into burnout, we are tracking on a weekly basis also the time spent on training of the team. This is a full set of indicators that I developed together with Jim Lippens as well. But that's really important. It's a bit dry, but it helps so much to create this level of trust and confidence. A second aspect that I really loved from the private sector is the time and the energy that was put on development, personal development, and training. That's probably because I worked in a very big American multinational, so there was budget for that, but there was really this aspect of, okay, it's important for every individual to grow and to learn continuously. And if every person in your organization learns continuously, guess what? I mean, as a whole, we will be more senior and better equipped. So, and this was not really something normal
Practiced
in the
in
NGO sector, you know. And what I then really liked from my time in the private sector is that I worked in a company where every 2-3 years you were offered a different job. And that is very counterintuitive for many managers and people that say, yeah, you know, this person is here since 3 years and this person is really good in what he's doing. And I'm like, okay, I know, of course it's comfortable to have that person, but how do you think his engagement and motivation will evolve over time? And often you see that the level of motivation is then going down. You know, it's a bit repetition, people don't learn anything new. And so I feel if you don't act quite rapidly, and especially on younger generations, where it's maybe even after 1.5 years,
Gen Z.
if you don't act rapidly, then the person leaves. And the cost of turnover is huge. There are studies about that, and it's a cost we don't speak a lot about, you know? What is the cost of turnover of someone leaving that has to be replaced from someone, by someone else?
Yeah, totally.
It's really huge on a lot of aspects, being the recruitment process, the onboarding process, the time the person will take to arrive to the same level, while having a person that can move to another job, but stay in the organization and allow another person to take his place. I think that makes a complete difference, because the other person is still there, can still be called in for advice, can really have proper onboarding. And so for me, that's something I also see is really what's important to keep people and to keep the engagement high. And it's not too much. Salary is important, but it's a small component. And what I see is that the impact of a salary increase, for instance, will be, of course, important, but only for a few weeks or months. You know, you can offer a salary increase to a person that was asking it for a very long time, but if that person doesn't like his job, he will be happy for 3 months, and then it won't work.
Yeah.
So it's a combination. So I would really say investment in training, people development, helping persons to continuously learn and grow and develop, and this importance of
data tracking,
and make sure the fundamentals are very strong. These are a couple of aspects, and then by working in the private sector in a multinational, I also learned to work in a very international context. And so I sometimes have people coming more from the world of startups, and I see they have a lot of amazing skills, but that skill then sometimes they don't have because they are less used to work. And in bigger organizations, internal communication is very important as well, because you constantly need to update some key stakeholders just to make sure that everybody can still follow what's happening.
But I guess one of the things that is easier in an NGO, maybe I'm wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that what is easier in an NGO is that at least the vision is clear.
Yes.
In a lot of private companies, the vision is not clear for everyone.
Yeah.
And so why are we doing this is lacking very often because people don't know. And I guess that is something that you don't have in an NGO.
Yes, that helps massively. Massively. It's really people that really come with a clear purpose.
Exactly. They are conscious choice to work for an NGO and specifically for an NGO like Handicap International, I suppose.
But sometimes the expectations are then too high and the person realizes, and I see it with people that make a shift between the private sector and the NGO world, sometimes have amazing expectations, but depending on the type of function the person is doing, a person working in an HR department will do the exact same role as in the private sector, So it's not that different, but still there is a motivation every day when you wake up to say you know why you spend energy and time on your job because of this mission and value.
Yeah.
Now, what is important to manage then and a difficulty is overcommitment then. That you see a lot, that people are so engaged. That
the highest levels of burnout are in NGOs, right?
I think it depends in which NGO. But yeah, you hear that quite often in the non-profit, etc. That you have a lot of burnouts. But I'm not sure what the root cause of that is.
No?
It's probably there is a level of willing to over-engage, But then I think the non-profit also has a lot to learn from the private sector about people development, retention, engagement, balance. And so, yeah, it's a mix of a lot of things.
But you and your team, you managed to keep, because you're tracking everything.
Yes.
Your burnout levels and people, leaving also because maybe they are disappointed.
Yeah, currently we have no one in a long-term sickness leave. So that's really something that makes me very happy.
Yeah.
And this year we even managed to reintegrate people that were on sickness leave since 3 years and 2.5 years.
Wow, okay.
But I really put a lot of attention on that. For me, it's really, really important for every person to feel he's not burned out. But
How do you do that concretely?
I'm not always by spending a lot of time talking to the people, prioritizing projects, but also by offering also a lot of other activities to the people. We have 4 groups of employees that are part of committees. We have an inclusion committee, a fun committee, a well-being committee, and a green team. And these people, and I really encourage them to spend time on these activities. They organize a lot of activities, smaller or bigger, for colleagues. And so every week you have 1 or 2 activities that are coming from these committees for the colleagues. And this brings a lot of lightness, fun as well in the office. That I think is important.
And it's a great idea, but how do you do that timing-wise? Because I guess a lot of people and management would say, yeah, but we don't have time for that because this week we have this and this and this and this priority. We can't go to the well-being initiative that is organized. I just need to continue to work, or I have meetings, or...
Yeah. I try to join as much as I can.
Okay.
So try to show a bit the example there.
The talk.
Yeah, and the notion of balance is one that I like to discuss with people. To say, look, you can't be super productive all the time and 8 hours per day or so. At a point in time, you will be more productive if you can vary the type of things you do and also free up some time for other things that may not seem that important, but that will really help you in your balance and make sure you will come back on your work more focused and more disciplined. So
that's so true. That's so true.
So that's important. And here I really speak from myself, because I had a lot of periods in my life where I was struggling with my personal balance. I did not go in real long-term burnouts or so, but I have been very close to that. And every time the reflection was like, okay, I didn't prioritize enough things that give me energy, that bring me back in balance, that bring a bit of lightness. And so these activities often bring a lot of fun. And the reality also is whenever there is whenever we have these activities that could also be named like team building activities or so, people are mixing, mixed between teams, etc. And there are often good ideas that come just because people are together in a different type of setup.
Yeah.
They are not in a meeting.
Yeah.
But they will discuss about work-related aspects, and you know. And last week we had the, how do you call it, the pies.
Yeah.
The galette des rois in French. And two people came after that moment, said, "Yeah, I spoke to that person. We have a new idea to collect funds." And so this was not at all the topic.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
you see these dynamics happening, and I think the more people know each other on an interpersonal level, the bigger the impact will also be on efficiency and how fast decisions will be made, or how easy communication between the people will be. So
Totally.
I see a lot of added value of.
Absolutely, and I love that you do that, and I wish more companies would do that, because I always hear management say, well, we need more efficiency, we need more productivity, and so the only thing they do is pushing people into more meetings, into more tasks, and that's actually the opposite of effective work.
Yeah.
But still, so many people believe that if we just have more meetings and we tell them more what they need to do, things will happen. But it's not at all like that. But somehow we got stuck in that belief.
Yes. Yeah, and I think efficiency for me has a lot to do also with the personal interactions, the level of trust. You know, people are used to send out a lot of emails with a lot of people in copy, etc.
Yeah.
But these are then emails and topics that are lasting for weeks or months sometimes, you know. And
yeah, exactly.
While what I really encourage people to do is to say, okay, if you have something to discuss with someone, go in the discussion, you know, go and see that people, take a coffee, discuss about that, and you will make a jump compared to a long email you will write, using then a bit of AI to make it nicer.
Exactly.
But in the end, you will maybe only move one step, while in a discussion, just in 5-10 minutes time, you can go much higher.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so I always, I like to also say to people, stop bombing my mailbox or my inbox. For me, it's not because you send emails that you work well or that you just work. Yeah.
Is that one of the reasons why you also like to be at work? Do you have a policy of home working?
Yes, the policy of home working is very, very flexible. Because I trust the people. So people are allowed to only come 1 day a week if they want.
And what is the average that they come?
But the average in the team is 3.5 days a week they come. There is a person coming only once because she lives 2 hours away, coming by train, has a family, so that makes perfect sense. And I have another person only coming once with a very quite severe disability. And so it takes a lot of time and energy for the person to arrive in the office and to be there. And the person is very exhausted after a day in the office. So there are very good reasons for the people coming less, but most of the people want to be in the office because that's where it happens, that's where the discussions are happening, and because they have fun between each other. So I had this discussion with some other people, and for me, if you have to oblige to make people come to the office, for me there are other things to solve than putting a new rule in place. I mean, for me that's really, if you have to oblige people, I mean, this is not a good sign.
It's not a good sign. No, I agree.
But there are buts, huh?
Yeah, there are buts, exactly, because quite often I hear from the teams and both the management that there's something wrong with the culture. And when everybody works from home, it's very difficult to build a good company culture because everybody is behind his computer, and then the only thing you can do is send an email. You know,
correct.
Antoine, I need this from you. And you just send out emails. From time to time you call someone or you send a text message, but it's a very functional relationship. You're in meetings behind the screen. There is no time for chit chat in those online meetings. So everything is very functional. But connections are built between people, not in the functional moments, but in the chit-chat moments, you know, when you're next to the coffee machine,
Yes.
or when you're doing cutting the cake. And it's then where you build that trust. It's then when you have time to listen to, oh, your son is playing football, or, you know, your wife
Exactly.
is cooking this evening, or whatever. But how do you build a great culture when people are not coming, and then managers say, well, they have to come from now on, so we will oblige them to come. There's also the pressure from international very often that we are renting a huge office space. It's costing a lot of money. So what is your opinion on that? I'm curious.
Yeah, I think you need a balance, probably, you know, because every job is different. I think some people will spend indeed a lot of time behind an Excel spreadsheet, for instance, and not too much in meetings. So for some people, it might make sense to be a bit less in the office. But even, I would say, independently of the job the person has, what I like is to start from the situation of the person. And to say, like, okay, what would make that the person would feel very happy in his job and very engaged, you know? And so I just went through 5 years that were quite busy with very young kids. So I have a daughter of 5, a boy of 3. And so, for instance, if I hear someone in the team that has a very young child, I will be very, very comprehensive for the person maybe to work more from home, because I know that that will allow the person to be a bit earlier at school, to spend more time with the kids, etc. And so that can make perfect sense for that person at that moment. And if that person sees that that's possible from the employee, I think the person will consider that as a massive benefit. Versus moving to another job. So I'm not sure there is a kind of one solution that fits all.
No.
Every situation is different. I think people working a lot in international teams, you know, maybe for some people it's just impossible also to meet the colleagues daily in the office. I'm not sure I have an answer to really what makes the difference. And for me, starting from the person, I would say, and try to see what's the best setup for the people, for the person to...
Starting with the team, and then not just with the rule. I think that's...
But also making people understand that it's important for every person to contribute to the culture, you know?
Exactly.
I think that's really important. And I had this discussion with a couple of people that didn't come too much. And to just say, you know, it's a pity we don't see you more. People like to see you. Some people regret the fact that we don't see you much. Would you consider coming a bit more? And then the person tries it, and then the person has fun and joy by coming more, ideally. So it's a natural process, I think. But I think when you really have to put very strict rules in place, and when people feel they are obliged, there are micromanaged controls.
It might work on the short term, but on the long term, you create a different problem, probably, which is one of distrust, and which is one of,
It's not easy. It's really not easy.
It's not easy.
And then between the generations, you probably have very different trends as well.
Yes, exactly.
And even, the concept of working hours, I think today in many companies becomes a bit irrelevant, you know, because what does it mean? Even if you're in the office today, you can spend your time watching something on YouTube, or you can be constantly disconnected with a WhatsApp, etc. And that's a big thing we like to discuss in the team as well, is the impact of multitasking and switching from the one to the other versus really being focused. And we're even discussing now, because I read that in some books, the idea of maybe saying as a team, we don't plan any meeting before 1 p.m. It's a bit strict. It's to say, okay, the morning is the focus time. Every person really works, focuses on one or two big things. And then we have a nice lunch, and in the afternoon, often after lunch, you feel a bit less focused, less sharp. And this is the moment then where we have meetings, we exchange, etc.
I think it's a nice idea. There's actually, in my first book, there's an example of an engineering company that does that, but even stricter. The team doesn't get phone calls, no email. So the boss is really strict because his team is engineers and they have to calculate things. And he said, I want to lower the level of mistakes, because each mistake it's in construction that they work has such a high cost at the end that I need to reduce the mistakes. And he won an award for that because it's so revolutionary. It's so simple yet revolutionary to say my team needs all the focus. And to counter the fact that people are also not allowed to have their phones with them, and so they can't WhatsApp home or whatever. So to counter that, they can leave at 4:00. So they still have time then to get the kids from school or to go to the dentist or to whatever.
It's very nice.
So it's a very I will give you my book, and you can read it, and you can. I love being inspired by others, how they do it, and then make your own system out of that. But I think it's true that we all believe that we can multitask, and specifically women, and it's not true. We are not better at multitasking at all. Yes, we have a lot of things to do at the same time, but it doesn't mean that we have our focus on things.
No.
And sometimes you really need that focus, and then it's very difficult to shut everything down because we are so used now to live with an item like a phone next to us that is giving us notifications all the time. There's the news notifications, there's the social media notifications, there's everything all the time demanding our attention. And it just explodes our brain, right? It creates a lot of stress.
Yeah, and I think these kind of systems really need to be discussed within the team. You know, I did a couple of trainings on email management and Outlook. And one of the first rules is kind of to say an email should never be used for urgent things.
Yeah.
Can we agree as a team that an email is not urgent? If we go back, an email replaced mail that came once a day in your mailbox, you know? Yeah. So we say, if we agree with that, and by agreeing with that, you have different impacts. And then you can say, okay, if we agree that it's not urgent, then we can close it, close our inbox when we're working and consult it on specific timings. And then to say like, okay, but what are then the solutions for something urgent? And what I then tell the people is, okay, if there is something urgent, don't send me an email because I'm not always on my emails. Give me a call, you know, or we have an internal chat, or come to my desk and see me, because if it's urgent, then it requires that kind of urgency. And it's a discussion I like to have when people are not complaining, but suffering from a workload. You know, they'll say, I have way too much work, etc. That can be, of course, the case. Of course, I'm not saying the person is not having too much workload, but I like to say, okay, how does the person organize his day? And is the person constantly multitasking, yes or no? Because that has such a big impact on all the rest.
Totally.
Or I heard companies where you cannot consult your inbox before 11 a.m. or so, or people or CEOs that are doing that. So the rule there is to say, like, you know, no, you start your day by 2-3 hours to really spend on what you wanted to do today. And then you get the other, not distractions, but things that are coming and that were not planned initially.
But I think that's a good rule. Also, already, like you were saying, mail is by definition not urgent.
Yes.
Because most people, all day long, all they do is reply to emails, right, next to their meetings, and the real work never gets done. And then when do they need to do the real work? In the evening or in the weekend. But that is not sustainable.
And then there is the concept of urgency as well, you know, because I'm telling the people, you know, if I'm I try, but I don't manage it every day, to only consult my inbox once a day. That's the rule I want to practice more, and I'm not yet there. But if that moment is between 5 and 6, end of the day, let's say, then most people would say, if I send you an email during the day, and if you answer me between 5 and 6, I will consider that as a very rapid response.
Okay.
To my mail.
Wow. Okay.
I sent something at 11. The same day, I already have an answer from the CEO.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, and so.
Yeah.
So urgency is it depends. It depends on the sector, the type of work,
totally,
etc.
Totally.
But I think we really can help each other in that.
That's true. Get some email etiquette and communication etiquette, really.
And telling others how you organize yourself.
Yeah.
My good friends and my best friends and my family know I'm not checking my WhatsApp constantly. I try to limit to 2 or 3 times a day, sometimes even 1. And so if I don't answer directly, they know why,
And if it's urgent, they know they can call you.
They call me.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they send me a very old SMS, and they do. They really do, and they call. And by the way, when someone calls you, it's nice, because if someone calls me, I know it's important to take now. Would be a problem at the school or whatever.
Yeah.
So I take it, and often this is also an opportunity for a nice discussion with someone. Hey, how are you doing? And
Totally. Antoine, we are already more than an hour, so I'm going to move a little bit quicker now. As you know, the CARE principles, it's a strategic model that starts with showing empathy to people. If you show that empathy, you are more trusted, and trust, like we discussed already, comes both ways. That's the reliability principle. If you have both of those, there's the agility part, the A of CARE, where you can be more flexible, but also you build mental resilience in your team. And all of that are actually 3 principles to build onto a more productive collaboration. You have a team that collaborates better. CARE starts internally amongst the team, but the model goes beyond it. You can also show more care for your clients, for your stakeholders, and for the planet. That is the whole model. We don't have time to discuss the whole model. We don't have time to discuss the 20 steps in leadership, how to create a more caring organization. But if you had to say one thing about the CARE principles, what is, because you didn't know them, what did you think? What do you think about it? What strikes you in the model? What would you like to share? Okay, thank you.
So congratulations for bringing that all together. For me, there was I think that there are 20, right? Key words, topics.
Yeah.
For me, there is not one too much.
Okay.
I didn't take the time to really reflect if I would add some others, but they really make sense. And one that I think we don't use enough. Not only in business, but in our daily life as well, is the intuition aspect. That for me has a massive potential.
It's true.
I have a lot, but we are still very much in this analytical world. And I spoke about data because I think that's important as well. But too many decisions are still taken, I think, from a very rational point of view, and if I think of myself, often if I take the time to listen to my feelings, my emotions, and my intuition, I think can really help a lot. We have somehow a bit lost that, and in organizations as well. And so that's one I really like, and that I don't see that often in other models.
Probably true. I never thought of that, but probably true, yeah.
I don't know how you came to the intuition aspect, but...
To be honest, I can't remember, because those 20 steps were built through, well, a lot of experience and a lot of research and a lot of feeding myself with knowledge from other people. And I think I built those care principles based on many other models and frameworks I used to work with in the past. And then I kind of made an analytic model for myself, because I've been working in business for a couple of decades now, and I think I kind of modeled it to what works for me. And then I kind of build in the 20-step approach, because a lot of people kept asking me, yeah, but how do you apply the care principles? And I said, well, the model is there, there's the 4 principles, you apply them on the 4 domains, which is internally your people, your clients, your stakeholders, and the planet. So this is the model. And people kept on saying, yeah, but how? And so it pushed me to think deeper and to think, okay, so what is really necessary for empathy and what is really necessary? So there's 5 steps within each principle. And the intuition, I think, came, I can't recall it exactly, but it's something that every time I work with clients, the first thing, how we show up in a meeting, me too, is your professional side, is your business side, is your educational side. And we all love showing that, of course. And that is also what I was trained to do, because my bosses were boomers and so I learned the hard way. And especially as a woman, I had to prove I had the skills also of male leadership.
Yeah.
And I was like you, I was very ambitious, and I was like very often also the youngest to be. I've never been the CEO, but I've been in management teams, and I was always the youngest and very often the first woman to be there. So I was trained in the good old business way, to show up with all the hard skills and the appearance of what it is to be a good manager. But when you start to work with people, or when you are in a team, of course, you very quickly, I'm not saying the mask is falling, because it's not always a mask, but you understand there's a human behind it. And the human behind it has his or her flaws, and it's never perfect. Who is perfect? Nobody. And understanding that and allowing feelings and emotions and understanding the role of emotions, but also understanding how you really feel yourself in that day, and allowing to trust your gut feeling is something that I learned throughout my career, that it's a crucial element of success. And I think the people I worked with and the people I admire the most are people who balance those two. Who have very good intellectual skills, who are very good in analytical business thinking, but who also have a very good, they are very in touch with their feelings and very in touch with their gut feeling and their emotional side. So the IQ, EQ balance, I love those people. The people that have that are, for me, the best leaders. And I guess, based on that experience, I placed it in there. And and it's funny that you mentioned it, because not many people talk about it, because there's so many steps. It's 20 steps, so it's a big model. And I also don't work with it, like step by step. When I am the strategic partner of brands and people in transition, I use my 20-step model, but it's not like in a linear way, One day I talk about gut feeling, the other day I talk about awareness. For me, the first step of the model is awareness, self-awareness. And a lot of people they don't do the exercises that you do. They don't do the journaling. They don't do the running and thinking and writing. They're not there yet, because all of that is part of the self-awareness. So it's just a tool to help people and companies succeed. and grow through their transitions. But it's only a tool. So, but thank you for
nice
highlighting. Thank you for highlighting that. I have two more questions,
Yes.
and one is from my previous guest. My previous guest is Anja Stas. She is the CCO from Antwerp Zoo Foundation. An amazing, talented woman, very in touch with EQ and IQ. And her question to you is, what was one of your most embarrassing moments that turned into a life lesson?
That's a very good one.
It's
I think we touched base a bit about that. For me, it was really about the lack of transparency, but also courage. To the lack of courage, when I reflect about it, to really follow my intuition as well.
What, last year when you had to make the decision
to reduce the size of the team,
size.
etc. And when I say intuition, it was more also about when the decision was made, also of how to manage that decision into explaining the person, the transition, etc. I got a lot of advice from very senior people, HR people, etc., that I followed. But I felt it was not necessarily right. And I didn't have the courage to say, no, but what really feels right to me? How can we deal with that? And so I have some regrets of that because it had a massive impact on the team, but mostly on the person. But this also comes with a life learning that is gigantic.
Was it the first time you had to fire people?
Yes.
Yes. So that's probably part of it.
Yeah.
So next time, hopefully it never happens again, but next time you will have real experience how to do it differently.
Yes. And unfortunately, they have already been next times because at a global level, we had to lay off 1,200 people out of 5,000 for just 1 year time. So it's a massive crisis. And in the role I have as CEO, a bit ad interim, but of the operational leg, I also had to deal with a couple of such cases. But so it's big learning.
Big learning.
But on the other hand, I'm now more confident about that, and I really try to focus on my area of control. So, okay, what is within my control? I cannot influence everything. I cannot change the world. I cannot impact the fact that the US president took decisions that caused an impact of 1,000 staff within our organization. I cannot impact that, but there are elements and things I can control. And so that for me is also a key way to love my job and in the context and manage the stress, etc., is to try to focus at least 99% of my energy on things that are within my area of control. And what I cannot control, I cannot control.
Which is,
I think, gives me energy.
Yeah, and I think it's the only way today we can keep on going and we can look positively towards the future, because there's a lot we can't control.
Yeah.
And it paralyzes us if we think too much beyond what is within our control. And I always say the care principles is very easy. Start by taking care of yourself and the ones in your direct circle. And that's already a massive change, because you can't take care of everyone and you can't take care of all the problems in the world. That's just not possible.
Yeah, and I feel the world is also in a... There is a lot of very positive news, but that is not made visible, not shared in the media. But I really feel amazing transitions going on, about discussions I can have with people, about and at all age levels, etc. I really feel society is evolving.
It is. It is.
And these topics are invisible or not very visible, but
it's true. It's like it's under the current. There's a big transition happening. But we don't see it because media doesn't talk about it, politics don't talk about it.
Correct.
But it is happening. It is happening, and I just hope that that one day it will be visible and that we will make the world a better place and not like where it seems to go now, in the
Yes.
wrong direction. But let's not end on that.
No.
What can I wish you for the future, Antoine? As my last question, what is your personal path, professionally and privately? Because we didn't manage to talk about your lovely wife that I also met.
No, it's true.
And your children.
And I need to mention that because my wife I had the luxury. I'm very grateful. I met amazing people over my first 37 years, and you are now one of them, an additional one.
Thank you.
But my biggest coach in life still is my wife, for sure, because she really helped me to become more aware of who I really am. And so what you can maybe wish me is to continue the journey of being more aligned with myself, my values, and to also step by step have the courage to really be the person I think I really am versus the person maybe society wants me to be, or society, or a part of the society. So yes, this aspect really is my journey. Stan helped me that. A couple of people are helping me in this journey. But I really feel like a massive energy of continuing to work on that. But this requires also to be very, very strict on the way I use my time. That's what I could wish to a lot of people, is really to take at least the time to reflect on what's important and what's maybe not, and to really prioritize time on what's really important. Because it's too easy, and we say, oh, the year went so fast, the week is going so fast, etc. But why are things perceived going so fast? Because we are just running, and not leaving any space to think about what we are doing. And one day it will be too late. So, so I think that's the biggest priority, and which is very difficult because there are so many temptations. Internet is open 24 hours a day.
True.
Sometimes I'm thinking that should be limited, like a store. You have 6 hours of internet. Punto. How would the world be if that would be the case? I think it would be a different world. But so, yes. Thanks a lot for the discussion.
Well, thank you for your time. As you
welcome.
mentioned, time is precious, and I'm very, very grateful that you came all the way to Antwerp and to be the guest in my Care Principles podcast. Wishing you all the best. I think you're very well on your way to become more of yourself, and great you have a spouse that is helping you with that. For the people at home, thank you so much again for watching. Thank you also to share my podcast with others who are interested in more leadership tips and in helping companies and people transition with more care, with more clarity, and with more purpose. Thank you so much, and take care.
Check out thecareprinciples.com and see how we can help you. Thank you, and take care.